especially in America, is very achievement oriented. Go to school, get the grades, go do your extracurricular activities. And that's great. I think we need to spend our time doing those things in community or achieving things. But if there's not that sense of connection and fulfillment and meaning, why are we doing it? We're getting people really in touch with who they are, and seeking what brings them joy. We're putting everybody in all these boxes in medicine and school, and that's why everyone is sick, right? Just it's so sad. My niece's elementary school, there was a huge shooting right by her school. It's in a really nice neighborhood. And it's like, what is going on in our society where that's a normal thing to turn on the news and hear this type of violence? And so you look at someone's not happy on the inside, how are they going to express on the outside? So I think we're so outer focus, especially with all the digital stuff that we're being exposed to all the time. So really teaching people how to connect with that inner sense of happiness and connection, whether.
Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Lynn Hanger. She is an Ayurvedic wellness and life mastery coach. She helps moms, healers, and entrepreneurs overcome burnout and optimize their health, energy, and time so that they can serve from a full cup and live a life of balance and purpose. Her mission is to empower women with the tools, knowledge, and support to rejuvenate and excel on all levels. She helps people learn how to apply Ayurvedic food, lifestyle, and habit evolution to create wholeness, balance, and purpose in their health and life. And she is a single mom of one, joining us from Denver, Colorado. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So please share with us your story. How did you become a single parent? Was it a conscious decision or an accident?
Um, I um, I had an unexpected pregnancy, and so I tried my best to make the relationship work. I came from a single parent family. My parents split up when I was really young, and so I do know firsthand the challenges of a broken home, for lack of a better word. Um, I tried to make it work as best I could, but in the end, it wasn't the best situation for me and my daughter. And so we split ways, and kind of even in the relationship felt like I was a single parent anyway. So after I left that situation, it was a lot easier to actually get the support I needed and get the help for my own mental health and wellness. And then also for my daughter, just it's hard taking care of a kid. So to resource myself with different family members and friends. So yeah.
Right. What was it like growing up in a single parent home? What were some of the things that worked, and what do you wish was better or could be
Yeah,
improved?
so I grew up actually with my father. My father was a single parent, and I did a lot of my undergraduate education was a lot around trauma and body-based stuff and generational trauma, generational abuse, addiction, and even looking back, my mother was from a single parent household. And a lot of that had to do with trauma and my grandfather coming back from World War II. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of mental health services. So she herself grew up in trauma in a single parent household. I'm second, so she had my sister first, and then she had me. And so I think she had a lot of unresolved trauma. And at that time, society didn't really recognize mental illness in the same way. You would get locked up and shipped out if you said anything. And so I think when she had me, she experienced a lot of postpartum depression, and there wasn't the help and support for her. So she was kind of ostracized. And my dad was the one who kind of took over and cared for me and my sister. So I think at that time, being a young kid, that's all you really know. As you grow up and you start to see the different family dynamics and notice what other people have, you start to just wake up to your reality. And so I think it was at the time, that's all I knew, looking back. And as I've grown into an adult myself and studied psychology, and as a parent myself, you realize people really do the best they can with what they have. I think for a man, it's really hard raising two little girls. Just females in general are just different than males. And then you add in hormones, and you add in just the life experience of a woman, it was challenging. So I think my dad really did the best he could. I think as I've done a lot of healing work, I've realized I needed my mom in certain ways, but my mom was working on her own mental health and working on her own survival. So just, I feel like looking back, I can see how things were and really appreciate the stability that my dad provided. But again, I do think there's difference in the feminine and masculine way of raising kids. And so I was raised we're doing things at a very specific time, very logical, very masculine. You push through whether you like it or not, right? You just do it. And I see a lot of value in that. But then I also had a lot of challenges with that as a female, and whatever it was, whether it was health or emotions or all the different changes you go through in adolescence and adulthood, there wasn't that nurturing. And I look and see, I have compassion for my mom because she didn't have that nurturing coming from her household. And so seeing that each generation we try to do a little bit better. And then that was a big struggle I had becoming a single parent. I didn't want my daughter to have those same limitations. It's a safer situation, us being separated and me being primary parent. But it is hard. I do think you need, like they say, the village. You need a village to raise a kid. And when you're isolated and when a lot is on your shoulders, it's easy to get stressed out and overworked. And so I learned a lot of self-martyrism and just do, which was fine until I couldn't, till my body physically broke down. So I've had to do a lot of conditioning of working with my own needs and setting boundaries and knowing that it's okay to rest and it's okay to take care of yourself. And knowing as a female, when we go through different cycles of the month, we need different care. And so learning that for myself has been a big piece, and I always try to take what I got and try to improve upon that. But life can be challenging when there's a lot on your plate. But I do admire both my parents for what they went through, and it's all been a part of our family healing, not just my healing journey, but our whole family healing.
Awesome, awesome. If you had an opportunity to go back in the past, what would you tell that younger version of Lynn who was growing up in a single parent home? What would you tell her?
That's a great question. I think I would maybe tell myself what I tell my daughter when she's struggling with those things of, to be grateful for what you have, because I think it's the human condition to look at what we don't have, and it's easy to focus on that or easy to focus on the negatives. But just to remind myself, and like I try to remind my daughter, everybody has different things they're given in life. I have a strong spiritual background, so we use the language of, God and angels and stuff. And so like I tell my daughter, God gives everyone a little bit of pain, and we're learning how to deal with it now at a young age. And I didn't deal with that. I pushed a lot of stuff down. So being able to just acknowledge for little Lynn of be grateful for what you do have, because I did have a lot of blessings, just like my daughter has a lot of blessings. I missed out on certain things, just like she's missing out on certain things, but that doesn't mean we still can't have a full, complete life. And we still can enjoy life and have fun and still have other people that make us feel connected and supported.
Yeah, you're so right. We always operate with the resources we have available, and being grateful even in the midst of, because our mind always goes, oh, I don't have this, or this doesn't work. But we have so many things that are working that we don't even realize that they are working until they're gone. So
Right. And I think that's a big piece as I'm going through my own healing journey, just trying to model that for my daughter. Some days we have good days, some days they're more challenging, and using the tools we have. And nobody's life is perfect. I think she had a fantasy, just like I had a fantasy, what my life would have been like if my mom, she has that fantasy, what would life be like if my dad was here? But the reality of life is still pretty great. We do have our limitations, and we have a stricter budget, but we make it work, but trying to get that in her mind, that attitude of gratitude, And instead of what's happening to me, of how can I use this for my benefit, or what lesson can I take from this to make me a stronger character. We always say it's character building time, and just acknowledging sometimes life gets heavy, and that's okay. And people with two-parent households, they're not perfect either. People in marriages, they're not perfect either. Everybody has their challenges, so we can't have that fantasy thinking, and just be grateful for what we do have.
Totally, totally. Speaking
Yeah,
of that, what do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
that's a great question. I think there's so many things to instill in a child, but I do think this idea of the sense of self. I had a lot of experience with trauma, and this idea of like parts of yourself being fragmented out at different stages. And so really building someone up strong to just be true to themselves. Everybody is so different now. And I think our generation is acknowledging that, and acknowledging there's kids with different learning challenges, differences, social emotional differences. So really just helping build a kid up to love and honor themselves wherever they're at. And even in my line of work, some people are struggling just to get out of bed and to live. Some people are struggling to go to work. They're in such bad chronic pain. There's so many different things going on, but if we can learn to honor ourselves and just accept, even if it feels like we're in the hole, getting up every day, that still is we need to celebrate ourselves, the littlest things, and then there's those people who are the hyper perfectionists, where they do all the things and they succeed, but they're still not satisfied. So learning how to treat ourselves kindly and accept where we're at, and then also just care for ourselves. I think I'm learning that as I reparent myself, and trying to instill that in my daughter and all the people I work with, of moment to moment, what's going on in here, and being able to be authentic with that. Because a lot of what I had to reparent, and I work with a lot of other people, this idea of masking. Someone who's in chronic pain all the time, they put a smile on their face when they're at work or for their kids, but behind the scenes they're dying inside. Or people who, chronic fatigue, or all the different things that we go through, but being able to just be authentic and say, okay, I need rest, or I need a break. And so um, acknowledging yourself first, and then doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, whether you're a little kid, a teenager, an adult. We always have to find the resources for ourselves, especially here in American society. You kind of have to be your own advocate at the doctors, at school. And if you don't have that strong sense of self, it's really easy to just get pulled in with whatever everybody's doing. This idea of peer pressure and all the social media stuff. It's like all these things. That's the challenge of our generation of parenting. But those who have a stronger sense of self, they're not going to do all the other things. Hopefully, that's the hope, right? Is that you build someone up strong enough to be able to say, no, I don't want to do that. That's not good for me.
You bring a very good point, and yeah, I think those traits are very important. The stronger sense of self, and treating others kindly, and loving and honoring themselves, I think is so important. Because having those traits instilled, then life becomes better in how we deal with challenges, how we approach living and being.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a big piece is whatever their focus is. I can't remember the specifics, but I think it was a John Lennon quote when the teacher asked, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And his response was happy. And she was like, I don't think you understand what I'm asking. And he was like, I don't think you understand life. So here, especially in America, is very achievement oriented. Go to school, get the grades, go do your extracurricular activities. And that's great. I think we need to spend our time doing those things in community or achieving things. But if there's not that sense of connection and fulfillment and meaning, why are we doing it? We're getting people really in touch with who they are, and seeking what brings them joy. We're putting everybody in all these boxes, in medicine and school, and that's why everyone is sick, right? Just it's so sad. My niece's elementary school, there was a huge shooting right by her school. It's in a really nice neighborhood. And it's like, what is going on in our society where that's a normal thing to turn on the news and hear this type of violence? And so you look at someone's not happy on the inside, how are they going to express on the outside? So I think we're so outer focus, especially with all the digital stuff, that we're being exposed to all the time. So really teaching people how to connect with that inner sense of happiness and connection, whether it's with yourself, your family members, friends, the grander community, because I do feel like in our generation, I'm like, why do we have so many problems that haven't existed in the past? We've always had guns, or not always, but there's always been weapons. But why is it so apparent now? There's so much more violence. And I think a big piece of that is like our own internal self-talk and our own ability to regulate emotions, which in my experience through my life and the people that I work with and I'm around, that's still something we're learning collectively. How do we regulate our emotions and work through these big things?
Yeah, I think what's different now is we never had so much connectivity as we have now. That you have access to everything what's happening all around the world. Before you just knew your corner and your world, and now all of that kind of is so exposed and so connected on one hand, and then what becomes normalized because you hear it in all different places, and now because you see it you think it's normal, but it's not really normal.
Yeah.
And that's that piece, I believe, that's kind of wedged in that additional level of puzzle as parents from younger, or sorry, our generations versus to what we have to deal with. And yeah, it's become difficult to navigate.
Yeah. I think that how much society has changed even within the past 50 years, our nervous systems haven't evolved enough to deal with that, deal with the stress. We have mirror neurons in our brain that it's like, even though that wasn't my trauma, I'm still thinking about, well, oh my gosh, that was 2 blocks away from my sister's house and right by my niece's friend's house. This collective trauma, this collective experience that we need to acknowledge. Gabor Mate is a really great resource out there, and he talks a lot about how we're identifying as sick, but really it's the environment that we're living in. And so acknowledging, like you said, it's like it's been normalized, but that's not normal for us to act that way. But we just haven't met our needs to be able to solve these problems on the mass level, because there's a lot of people falling through the cracks. And I think that's kind of our generation's task, is how do we reconnect people to themselves and each other? Because what are we doing not only to ourselves, but the planet itself, nature itself, the microbiome of the earth itself? Like, things are changing at a really rapid rate, and we kind of have to wake up, or we're just going to keep getting sicker and sicker.
Yep, so right. Time to wake up.
Ah, ah.
How did your career, how you call it, your single parenting journey affected your career choices and what you decided to do with your life?
I even before I had my daughter, I was already on the holistic path. I had started as a body worker, and then my undergrad is in integrative therapy. So I got a taste of a lot of different holistic therapies. But through my own healing journey of just, I had a lot of chronic pain, a lot of chronic low energy, PTSD. And so working with the body-based therapies, first with yoga and then into Ayurveda, it's what helped me heal myself. And I think that process of awakening and the process of just becoming more self-aware and realizing I'm one link in the chain. My parents both had trauma, their parents both had trauma, and just seeing how, and not just my family, collectively as humans, as you look at, patterns and what happens to everybody when there's a world war, what happens when there's bombing in a country. Like you said, we're so connected nowadays, it hits closer to home. And so my own health issues took me down to where I wasn't able to work. I wasn't able to take care of my daughter. And the fear of passing on more trauma to my kid. And that was really kind of the kick in the butt to really make me devote myself to this path and really devote myself to healing. And as I worked on my physical body, I had to work on my emotions and had to work on my mindset, and had to work with my sense of spirituality and community. And so I think Ayurveda was something that helped me heal. And then through that process, wanting to help other people. Am I completely healed and have 100% great days all the time? No, we struggle and we have things, but that's why we do it. So I do believe in the power of each one teach one. Get what you need and then reach back and help those behind you. And so helping other moms I know the struggle, and I hear it all the time. I don't have time. And I'm like, I didn't have the time until I completely broke down where I have to make the time. And now, the stronger I get, it's easier to let go of certain practices, but really staying committed to my self-care, my mental health, my emotional health, to one model for my daughter so that our family stays safe and healthy and strong. I think that's most important. And then helping other people. Some of the things with Ayurveda, it's so profound, but so simple. We live aligned with nature. So waking at certain times, eating at certain times. We teach there's different organ systems doing things at different times. So if we align what we're doing with that, we're going with the flow of life in our body and our cells and our circadian rhythm, but then also with the seasons. Different seasons teach different things. And once you know these things, it makes sense and kind of helps validate some of the symptoms you may be feeling. And so once I learned, it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm chronically dehydrated, so that feeds all of these different things. Or maybe my foods are off, so my gut isn't healthy. So connecting all the little pieces for myself, and then also helping other people connect, because as a single parent, I think that's the biggest thing, is learning to resource with what I can do myself, and then learning to resource and get help from other people. So then hopefully I'm that support for other people, knowing I kind of feel like I've been at the bottom of the barrel for so long, and I can relate to that feeling of, being totally hopeless, to where now it's like, okay, I can look back and see the states I was in and recognize things can change. So hopefully being that light for other people, saying no matter where you're at in your healing journey, whether you're in the pit or you're trying to, go for a bigger goal, like start a new career, or a lot of people have these visions they want to do, but they don't ever take action on it. So anywhere in the healing journey of just supporting someone, and the tools with Ayurveda, once you know it, you know it. So like language, once you learn all the letters and how you put everything together, you're continually able to connect and speak with people. Same thing with Ayurveda. Once you know your elements, once you know how to decode the symptoms in your body, you're able to know, okay, the weather's going to be like this outside, so maybe I should make this adjustment with my food, or a habit that I'm doing at home, so that you ride the waves of life instead of being sucked down under them. Because I think we all know that feeling, no matter how good we are at what we do, life can kind of overwhelm you at times. And so learning sometimes, like I tell my daughter, I say, sometimes we're just floating on our back with our head above water. Just that's where we're at today, but we're not going under. We're keeping our head up. And then other days we can float or we can surf, and that's okay, because life is, continually changing. But how do we ride those waves, and hopefully helping others? So there's a quote where they say, if you want to change society, you change the moms, because the moms are going to take care of the kids. The moms are going to take care of the aunties and the uncles and the grandmas and the grandpas and everyone in the community. So trying to build each of us up in our own ways, however we can.
Totally, and I love that. I love how you said, about the time. We make the choice if we want to take the time to be sick later in life, or, take care of ourselves now. And we always make that choice. It's nobody's gonna come and tell you.
Right.
It has to come
Right.
from you. And unfortunately for us, we always kind of wait until something terrible happens for us to kind of start asking questions and changing our way of living and being. And we don't wake up sooner.
Yeah. I think that's kind of part of the process, though. And I think the people, and maybe you've had that too, the people who come to you when they're at their worst and their most broken state, as hard as it is to be in those states, that's where you have the most power to change your life. You're not attached. I mean, even if you are attached to it, you can't be, right? You're in that state where you're forced to make the change and take massive action. When things are going good, we're humans. We like regularity. We get stuck in our habits and our ruts. And so reminding ourselves, those who've been through really hard periods, use what you have while you got it. And then those who are in those tough times, knowing that that's a really pivotal moment to then open up a whole new world. And I do think getting support at those times is so crucial, because when you don't, you just keep going down and down and down. But recognizing, again, it's a choice. And hopefully we're making the choice sooner rather than later. And then it's human psychology. Most of us are going to wait until crisis. But then when that happens, there's so many more resources available now than ever before. Our grandparents didn't have self-help books. They didn't have counselors. They didn't have podcasts. They didn't have apps that they could listen to meditation and tap or talk to a therapist online. So we're in this generation of we have everything here. It's just what are you going to choose to give your attention to? Are we going to just doom scroll all day, or are we going to use the technology to uplift ourselves and connect with someone who's going to inspire us or give us resources? And it's really on us, right?
Totally, totally. What is your superpower?
Oh, that's a good one. I almost feel like my superpower can also be my kryptonite, that feeling of just caring for people almost so much that it consumes me sometimes. So that's what I'm working on, of loving people and caring about people, but then also knowing it's okay to reserve some of that energy for me. And it's okay to reserve that energy for my family. And I don't have to give it all. It took me a long time to learn that one. So,
Yeah, that could be the detrimental.
yeah. Yeah.
What advice would you give to single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
I would say a big piece is to get help. I think it's ingrained in us that you can do it on yourselves, but there's that idea of hyper independence, and that doesn't always serve us. It's great to do what you can for yourself, but being connected with others who understand what's going on, whether it's, if you have a church group or any kind of support group, friends that you see on a regular basis, family, you can't do it all on your own. And even if you can do it on your own, probably not going to be your most full self, who you want to be. It weighs on a parent to care for another life, much less multiple lives, and in our economy and in this pressure of working and doing all these things. So if you don't have help and you don't have some time to rest and some time to take care of yourself, you will eventually burn out. It took me a long time to accept help. That was a hard one when people were offering it, and then even harder to learn how to ask for help when people aren't offering it. And that's a big piece, whether it's other single parents. I recently connected with local single moms, and we have a single moms group. And sometimes we just talk about the stress of being a single parent, always being on, nobody to help, and then other times we resource each other. Maybe we're helping to care for the kids. Maybe we're all going out to do something together so our kids can feel connected. So reaching out and getting help. I shared something on Facebook the other day. I'm like, there's no awards for doing it all yourself. There's no awards for being perfect. And so getting the help you need and then knowing it's okay. Some days are up and some days are down, but to be with your kid, that's the most important thing. To be present even when you're not 100%. And so I tell my kid that all the time of, I may not be, how I want to be all the time, and I'm working on it, but I'm here with you. And I'm always going to be here with you, and we're going to work it out. And so depending on whatever situation someone came in with of why they're a single parent, I'm sure there's some therapeutic support that's needed for the parent as well as the kids, because there is some sort of broken tie if you're doing it by yourself, or if you're co-parenting, that's a whole nother level of support that you need to make sure that goes well. So it's wherever you're at, getting the support you need so that you can do your best and your kids can do their best, so they don't have that limitation for their own self.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, asking for help, I think, is crucial. And just like you said, we often want to do it by ourselves because we feel imposed, or we don't want to put our burdens on somebody else's shoulders.
Right,
But
right.
it's always kind of a two-way street. We give somebody an opportunity to help us, and they feel good because they were able to.
Right.
So it kind of, I had to learn it as well.
Right, right. And I had a really amazing friend who she herself was a single parent. And so she was giving back to me and helping me in the ways that she wished someone would help her. So as I get as I get balance in what we're doing in our life, to be able to give back to other moms, whether it's the group that I'm in or eventually, as you come across people, you don't know how much someone is struggling until you've been through that yourself. And those people, even the simple things of, here's $50, go buy new pairs of pants because your kid always has holes in their jeans, or Thanks, Grandpa, for buying us tennis shoes for our birthday because we need new shoes. Those little simple things to somebody who's not under the stress of being the sole parent. It's really nothing for them to go take your kid to the park. It's nothing for them to take them for a sleepover. But we feel like it's got to be all us. Where really people love to help. We just, like you said, have to give them the opportunity. Um, yeah.
Was there any book you read in your journey that inspired you or caused you to change?
Hmm.
Or something memorable?
Yeah, I feel like I'm an info nerd and I love to just learn. I do think there are a few key people who really helped me kind of get to the other side. If you've ever heard of Joe Dispenza and the work that he does with the mind body stuff, I am like that science geek where I can believe something, but then once you show me the science of what's going on in your neurochemistry when you do a visualization or when you create a new habit, or like tapping or, all these different energy therapies, I like to see the science behind that. So Joe Dispenza, he's got a lot of great work, whether it's books or he's got a lot on YouTube and different audio stuff. Gabor Mate is also a big one. He's so well spoken in describing trauma because he himself comes from trauma. He comes from a medical background, so he's really Western minded and research based oriented, but also brings in kind of the untouchables, how our mental state, how our emotional state is influencing the cell health, how it's influencing our gut or our brain health. And he did a lot with medical mysteries and like chronic pain and different things like that. And so I really like people like that who they've been through it. Joe Dispenza also had a really extensive healing journey. He got in a really bad car accident. And so people who've walked the walk and they're trying to teach other people. And part of what I think both of them taught me, just to normalize where you're at and then just take those small steps to get better. And whether it's the foods you're eating, the way you wake up in the morning, how you interact with people, all these things build upon itself. So really identifying, okay, I come from limitation or I come from this mindset, but I want to get into this new mindset. And there's so many tools nowadays to help us get there.
Yeah, you're so right. I do love Joe Dispenza work. I heard about Gabor Mate. I haven't explored much about it, so
Yeah.
I'll do that next.
Yeah, he's a good one. The way he speaks, even his voice, he shares a lot of his personal stories and his story, I guess I can't remember what country, but it was during World War II. And his mom was scared of the Nazis coming to get him and coming to get their family because her family had been taken by the Nazis. And so it's like, imagine growing up in that. And he describes what's going on in brain development when something like that happens. He has a book on ADHD and how these small microseconds of us not attuning with our parents and what that does to brain development, whether it was that extreme trauma like he experienced, or even nowadays that we're so overworked and overstressed, that we're not giving the kids the attunement that they need, but really breaking down relationships and how the importance of connecting with someone is. And that base level of what's going on in your nervous system when you're connected, cuddling with mom or dad, versus you're alone crying it out. And he was abandoned because it was just the nature. But the little baby Gabor didn't know that. He just knew his needs weren't getting met. And then he talks about how that forms in our nervous system. And so it becomes a pattern. And he's had to, in his own life and in his own journey as parenthood, learning how to work through those things. But just educating us of this is something I think all of us are dealing with, is learning how to quote unquote be okay and be healthy and happy and make sure our kids are healthy and happy. It's an ongoing process.
Totally. I think we never really grow up. We just continue to learn more about ourselves and how we interact with the world. And now this new kind of term became popular, reparenting yourself.
Right. Right.
It's like, let's give ourselves what we didn't have when we were kids, or what we
Right.
were missing.
Right. Right. But if you look at the course of history, at certain times, you're just trying to get food on the table. That's like the basic need, and they did good to do that, right? How many people didn't and they went hungry, you know? And so each generation has its challenges, and we're so fortunate in this generation to just have, you know, it's like I think back to my grandma. She was working all day long and then coming home to pluck a chicken, boil a chicken, make bread and dough from scratch after working all day, where we have all these conveniences now that we have more time and space and energy to talk about this and to evolve parenting in that way, whereas before it's just pure survival. And I would even say for some people now it's still pure survival. And so recognizing it's a gift as much as it's a responsibility to do these types of things and to work on our family lineage and then to work on ourselves to hopefully help our kids become the best that they can be.
Totally, totally. It is important work, I think, because our parents' generation, they would suppress everything. Nobody would talk about their feelings, or even like if something is not working, you just, I don't know, you just leave, or you like you don't even deal with it. So now, like you said, we have this better opportunity to delve deep into our psyche and help heal our ancestry and hopefully not pass anything down to our kids so they can have a better life and not have to deal with our trauma.
Right, right. And that's I think anybody on the self-healing journey, you have to look back at the past, whether it's just your family, whether your parents, their parents. But as you look back, whether it's the family or just human history, life can be challenging. And I think we're at that point in history where we recognize there's a new way to do things. And it is going to take effort and it is going to take us going out of our comfort zone. But what's the alternative? Keep suffering or get up and go get in a group, get up and go exercise so you feel energized to do what you need to do, you know, eat the right foods. So there's so many different pieces now that we have to support us if we just start taking the action.
Totally, totally. Are there any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Oh, fun projects. I'm always working on something. We're doing the school that I work with is an Ayurveda school, and we're doing detox right now. So big piece is everything is a vibrational imprint. So our outer world is the external expression of our prana, our energy. So this month we're doing home detox. So going through my home and cleaning things out and tidying things up and making sure my external prana has the flow. And then next month we do our body detox. And so it's really working with choosing certain foods and doing certain practices to kind of get that seasonal spring clean. So not always fun doing all the organizing, but I'm kind of an organizing nerd, so that's fun to me. So I like organizing everything, and we're going through a bunch of clothes. There's a local elementary school that has taken in a lot of the immigrants who come here from Mexico. So we're getting stuff together to donate and pass on to those who don't have it. And so it's hard sometimes to let go of things, but it's always nice to pass it on knowing someone is really going to use it and need it. So that's what we're working on this month.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Are there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Oh, I love all your questions. And I think it's so important to have podcasts and discussions like this to just normalize what's going on. I think, I don't know the statistics, but there's so many more single parents now than ever before. And so normalizing that this is happening and how do we keep going on and keep building healthy, happy lives for ourselves and our kids. And yeah, I think I love all of the questions that you ask, and then hopefully getting people to just feel inspired to take whatever action that's most appropriate for them, whether it's to get their help for themselves or for their kids. Because one, it's hard with everything on one person. So I love that you have this as an opportunity to share of like, even if you've come from a bad situation, things can get better. And when you're in the thick of it, it's heavy. So to have this as a community resource, I love that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You're right that, you know, when I became a single parent, everybody around me was together. So I was this outlier and I didn't know how to move forward. And then several years later, this got realized. So what's a great idea? I saw a friend doing a series of interviews of people, of entrepreneurs kind of sharing their journey. I said, what a great idea. What if I interview single
Yeah,
parents who have been there, done that, and that's how this podcast started
yeah,
4 years ago. And it's
yeah,
been incredible journey. So
yeah. And
thank you for coming. I really
yeah.
appreciate having you.
Thank you for having it. I think it's important to know some of these things that are just normal things to recognize single parents. It's a big thing to take care of kids, mostly all on your own. And hopefully people are getting support, but to recognize there's unique challenges and to feel supported and just understood. That's a huge piece of the healing journey is knowing you're not the only one and there are ways to work around it no matter what. I've seen the worst of the worst and the best of the best, and there's always that middle area of a gap. And how do we fill that gap? And I would hopefully encourage, like you, it's like build your health, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. But building yourself up, whether it's individually or with your community, to just help.
Yeah, yeah. If people would like to connect with you, learn more about you, where would they go?
I have a website, www.holisticliferemedy.com. I'm also on Facebook, Holistic Life Remedy. I don't know if it's going to be this summer, but hopefully by fall, I want to get in more of, I work one-on-one coaching with people, but I do think it's been coming up in so many different ways of this community. So hopefully this fall we'll get together and maybe do community self-care. A big piece of what we do is learning how to care for yourself and just regular body-based things you should be doing every day. So hopefully getting an accountability group together so that we can do it together.
Awesome. That
Yeah,
sounds lovely.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.